Morning, boys. What's going on?
Let's start with something a little out there. We'll get to more specifics, but I'm curious how you feel about the idea of an 18th game, about the expansion of a football season that used to be 16, now is 17, to 18, perhaps relatively soon. It feels like they're moving pretty quick with it.
Well, the greed of NFL ownership knows no boundaries, guys. So yes, they will get to 18. It's all about money, and when they can agree to share a big enough piece of the revenue with the players, they will go along with it as well. Some might not be thrilled, but if there's enough money, yeah, they'll be willing to do it as well.
So, Brad, Ben Johnson spoke down at the NFL owners' meetings in Palm Beach, and according to some of the tweets and reports of people down there, he said a couple interesting things about Bears personnel. Number one being Jaquan Brisker is cleared, and he will be part of the offseason workouts that begin next week, and that Braxton Jones will be limited, but it seems like there was, based on Ben Johnson today and Braxton Jones's own report last week, he seems to be trending in the right direction. Both of those guys would be big parts of this team next year. What's your reaction to their progress?
What would have been newsworthy if they said Jaquan Brisker would not be able to work out in the gym next week. Like, that's been expected all along. So I don't know that I find an update on Brisker newsworthy when we're basically told at the end of the season that he had been cleared, he was fine, and they just took the right approach after he had missed so much time. He got the concussion, the symptoms lasted longer than they expected, and when you got near the end of the season, it wasn't simply a concussion issue. It was a concussion issue combined with the fact that he wasn't in football shape. Like, the guy hadn't been out there practicing football for so long that there was no chance of getting him back on the field at the end of the season. And in terms of Braxton Jones, yeah, it looks like they've said some positive things about him. Of course, that wouldn't preclude them from making a move in the draft at that position. But if they don't do that, certainly he's probably the incumbent when he's healthy to be the starting left tackle. And he's proven at times that he can play. It's certainly a high enough level to get that job done. And it's a big year for him, and are in the final year of his rookie contract.
I am curious, Brad, when you hear a guy like Ben Johnson say that he doesn't really he believes in watching tape to determine whether a tackle has long enough arms, as opposed to he said that you can tell right away if someone has an issue with long enough arms by watching the tape. You don't need to see the measurements. Now, that would seemingly be a direct reference to the LSU tackle, Will Campbell, and whether or not, I guess his arms grew somehow on his pro day, and he's now at 33 inches as opposed to 32.5 or whatever it was. And either way, it's not 34, which is considered kind of the bare minimum for a tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, with Will Campbell, it's going to be an evaluation of where you think he fits. And I know there are teams out there that are evaluating him strictly as a guard, okay? And there are teams out there that if they get him, would try him at left tackle first and see how it works out, because it's the premier position. Feeling comfortable that, if he is a little bit out of place there, that he can be moved inside and be an elite guard. Like, I talked to one guy, and he said that his hope for Will Campbell, and this is a scout. He's just talking in general. Like if I was in, Will Campbell's camp, I would hope somebody would draft him relatively high, and he said have the stones to just play him at guard because he thinks he's going to be a fantastic guard. Now you look at how he performed this past season, and it didn't look like the arm length was really an issue at all until, according to some folks I talked to, there's a couple games late in the season for LSU where it showed up on tape. South Carolina, fantastic defensive front, probably was an issue for him there. But the guy said that knowing that, he thinks he's super smart and he's a hard worker and he could potentially adapt to be able to handle it in the NFL.
What did you make of Ben Johnson saying during an interview yesterday that Tyler Warren intrigued him and that he was a guy at Penn State that did everything from the Wildcat and to working out of the backfield, and then Dennis Allen watching on tape said, whoa, that would be a guy that would be really hard to stop. And I wonder, number one, could it be you put it out there, a little gamesmanship involved, but also could be just an offensive coordinator, a play caller who's now a head coach being enamored with a guy that would give him a lot of versatility in calling plays.
Yeah, a ton of versatility. I mean, Tyler Warren is a fantastic player. 49 receptions in his first 3 seasons at Penn State. More than double that this past year with, I think he caught more than 100 balls, a bunch of touchdowns. I mean, total package at the tight end position, ability to catch the ball, to be involved in the running game as a blocker, like gritty guy, the kind of player I think you want in your locker room. The Bears can say a lot of great things about him. I don't know that he's going to be available at number 10. Like it's fun. It's a fun discussion to have. How could he fit in? How could he be deployed? How could he be paired with Cole Kmet? It's a fun discussion to talk about Ashton Genty, the Boise State running back. I don't know that either one of those players will be on the board when the Bears are selecting at number 10.
Yeah, I think that it's fascinating to kind of think about the way he's talked about this draft. And I wonder, Brad, if, would you prefer them to grab best player available, grab someone? I mean, I don't know how many Blues people think there are in this draft, but let's say it's 6 players. If one falls to them, do you take him regardless at the 10th pick, or do you want to keep trying to work on maybe line of scrimmage stuff?
Well, I think if you've evaluated a player that's elite, it's
falls to
scheme transcendent, all that type of stuff. They don't have enough of those players at Hollis Hall. And one of the reasons why they've been bringing up the rear for a while in the NFC North and had their struggles in the division is because when you stack up their roster against the other teams in the division, they have a shortage of elite football players. And I know that they have helped themselves out in free agency, but I would suspect most folks out there think that they've done more good for themselves than they actually have. Like the free agency could be overrated. Drew Dahlman could turn out to be a really good football player for them at center. Most of the other stuff is shorter term or kind of a coin flip. Like they've invested in Deo and they're betting on his upside, but that's a bet, right? Like that's a gamble there with him. So they need more difference makers in order to be a competitive team in the NFC. When you talk about, hey, the season's going to kick off, who are the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFC? Like the Bears haven't been within any distance at all of that conversation for several years now. Although, you'll have found folks the last couple of years that would put them in that conversation at the start of September annually, but that hasn't been the case. I think they need more elite players to get in that territory.
So when you see the tush push is going to be voted on later this morning, and it needs 24 votes to outlaw, essentially ban the play from NFL games next year, what is your expectation? And do you know where the Bears stand on this? The Packers have gotten a lot of attention and some criticism and being at the forefront of this, but do we know for sure that the Bears aren't exactly, crazy about the idea of the tush push, and they might be voting against it too?
Yeah, well, if it's a Packer-led movement, you would expect George McCaskey to be walking the other direction, right? Like, I don't see him following the Packers.
I don't know.
I think George was one of one or two owners that voted against expansion to 17 games, right? I believe. I'm not positive on that one, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's. I think we could all agree it's not a football play. Like when you.
I don't agree. I think it is a football play.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like a rugby play to me, Dave. But
I know, but I'm just telling you, I'm not agreeing.
I mean, when you wax nostalgic about Friday Night Lights,
it has nothing to do with that. It's a football play. Okay. Well, I think most people disagree that it's a football play. I don't know that I buy the whole safety piece. Like a quarterback sneak, period, is a play that puts your quarterback in jeopardy, right? You better feel good about the durability of your quarterback to be running sneak plays with him. The Eagles have perfected this play with a quarterback that can squat Lord knows how many pounds. Mm-hmm. He's so strong. They've got a fantastic offensive line. The play is almost unstoppable the way they run it. But, yeah, we'll see. To get 24 owners on board is tricky for NFL owners unless it involves making more money, and this has nothing to do with finances.
I guess that Ben Johnson today said there will be 3 to 5 captains. They won't have 8. There'll be 3 to 5. They'll be voted on by players at the beginning of the year.
They're always voted on by players. They always say it's voted on by players, and
then they stuff the ballot box.
Well, they'll never tell you they stuff the ballot box, and I'm not saying that they'll stuff it here, but yeah, the whole like everyone gets excited about the captain thing and this, that. I mean, these are professional athletes, okay? And when you boil it down, they're mercenaries, okay? They're like hired guns for the Chicago Bears. There's hired guns for the Indianapolis Colts. Like, if you don't have self-starters in your locker room, it's going to be very difficult for you to have the kind of work environment where people are going to grow and get better as a team. And people have been fascinated with that. Like, well, what about the captains? How many captains? What are the captains? Like, if the other 40 some odd guys in the locker room need to be kick-started by the captains, you've got a big, big, big problem.
So also what Ben Johnson alluded to this morning is he called Karan Amagaji a potential developmental prospect and a lot of traits to work with. Not discouraged at all by what he put on tape. He got put into some tough situations in 2024. When we talk about left tackles and drafting one and the return of Braxton Jones, how much do you think that Karan Amagaji will be a factor on this offensive line next year? And will he be a guy that considered to be, if he is a prospect that is developmental in the eyes of Ben Johnson, could he be a guard moving forward?
Yeah, I think you got to stick with him at left tackle and see what happens there. Like you need to give this guy an off season, training camp, and a preseason playing that left tackle position. In my mind, I think you need to, if you want to give him a chance to flourish, you need to put him in one place and allow him to stay there and see what he can do. And he didn't have the offseason or training camp or preseason last year, had a very limited number of snaps during the season, most of them in that road game at Minnesota, very difficult position. You got to think of it, it's a fresh start for everyone. It's a fresh start for a guy like that who is going into year 2 in the league, and it's same way. It's going to be a fresh start for a guy like Cole Kmet, who's been around a long time, and it goes back to the Matt Nagy era. So if it's a fresh start, you're evaluating this guy from the beginning, and I wouldn't rule out the interior thing, but I think if you truly want to give this guy a fresh start and you believe in him as a prospect, you're going to allow him to really work at one spot and not try to complicate it for him further. If they've gotten different input from some of their offensive coaches, the line coaches, maybe you change that thinking, but give the guy a chance to flourish, right?
Mm-hmm. What did you think of his thoughts on Braxton Jones, and what are yours on Braxton Jones?
Well, I wasn't there. I didn't hear word for word what he said about Braxton Jones, but talking about him needing some time to in order to get fully cleared going into perhaps the summer from that ankle surgery. But Braxton is out of the walking boot, and that certainly puts him in a position to be able to do some stuff on the field here in the coming months, you would think. I'm sure rehab's involved, getting stronger. And I did see that they had talked about maybe trying to add a little weight to him.
Yes, that's what he said.
But before you're doing that, obviously you're rehabbing that ankle. You're trying to get your strength, mobility back, and things of that nature before you're putting a plate of 3 or 4 ribeyes in front of them.
Good stuff, Brad. Thanks.
Great stuff, buddy.